you mentioned back to 74 and some of the time before the big run in WWE with the Iron Sheik. You know, you were the U.S. champion, had an amazing feud with Wahoo McDaniel, and you know, had the world tag titles with Don Kernodle in a great feud with Steamboat and Jay Youngblood that people, you know, still talk about. You know, tell us a little bit about those days and what those were like.
Well, I just did an appearance last night in Winston-Salem, not too far from when we had that big match with Steamboat and Youngblood in that cage. And number one, it was never done before. There was never a tag team match in a cage. Wow. That was one thing that nobody had ever seen before. And then we had a special referee that nobody had ever seen referee before. He was the commissioner of Mid-Atlantic, Crockett Promotion. So everything was, you know, new and different. And I kept telling, because we didn't have pay-per-view back then, and I kept telling Jimmy Crockett what they grew up in New York when the Iron Sheik and I did the match, and Pat Patterson and I did the alley fight.
Yeah.
And I wrestled Bruno Sammartino. Those are the only three matches that I was ever in that sold out not only Madison Square Garden, but the Forum next to it, which had a big screen that you could watch the matches. If you couldn't get tickets to go inside the MSG, you could go right next door and watch it. And so I told Jimmy Crockett, I said, we should, you know, rent a building next to the Greensboro Coliseum and put it on a big screen for those that aren't going to be able to get in. He goes, you think we're going to have that many people there? And I said, I guarantee you, we're going to have a lot of people there. And of course, after it was all over, I could talk to you for hours on before I got there, but I finally had to park my car at a 7-Eleven and grab my bag and run up the hill to the Coliseum because there was so much traffic I couldn't get to it, and it was already 8:30, and I was in traffic for like 2.5 hours trying to get to the building.
Wow!
And so they kept saying on the radio, if you're going to the Greensboro Coliseum for the wrestling matches and you don't have tickets, turn around. No sense going any further. So everything got jammed up. And so later, after the matches, we ran into the highway patrolmen, and they said they estimated that 17,000 cars were turned away. Not people, cars were turned away from that show. And every time I saw Jimmy Crockett up to the day he died and talked to him, he kept telling me, I should have listened to you, Sarge. I should have listened to you. Did that big screen, you know, but who was to know, you know, because we only, you know, had a small region that we grew from in Charlotte, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and a couple other states, Tennessee. But people wanted to see that match, and back then there wasn't a lot of pre-sale, and as I said, no pay-per-view. But that started everything rolling. The WrestleMania and the Starrcade, they saw what had happened there, and so every year Starrcade would do a match in Greensboro Coliseum. And of course, Vince McMahon the next year said, "Hey, I got to keep up with that, so I'm going to do the WrestleMania." And it was just something that you don't think about, but that was history making. That match did that, and we only had 5 matches on that card. I mean, that's how over it was. And Ric Flair came to us in my locker room with Don Kernodle and I. And he said, hey Sarge, Big D, I just talked to Jimmy Crockett, and he said it's okay for me to go out before you guys. And I said, you're the world champion. You're supposed to go on last. He goes, I'll never be able to follow that match. No way. He said, I'm wrestling Greg Valentine, and everybody's here to see you guys. They don't really care about our match. So
wow,
that was kind of a big achievement to have Ric Flair, you know, one of the greatest performers ever in our business, come to us and say, can I not have to follow you guys? It was a pretty good deal.
Wow, that is unbelievable.